Yeah, leadership is a very confusing thing. There's a lot of different opinions on it, a lot of theories about it, millions of books about it. But when I look at leadership and I say, what is it really for? I say it's for advancing the goals of a common group. And this is what leadership does when it's done really well. When it's done poorly, of course, it does the opposite. It unadvances or advances the goals of the common group. That's when we have leaders who prey on our fears and our prejudices and draw us to a darker place instead of a brighter place. So, one of the most extraordinary elements of our profession, and that draw me to it and keep me in it for so many years, is what we get to do in terms of leadership, of advancing the common goals of our team, because we have these shared values, we have these shared goals. And in our case now, we have this movement, which we are all united of, this movement of helping people take their lives back, of getting their health back, getting the money thing out of the way, and living the life that they truly wish to lead. Thank you very much. So we have those shared values to do that. We have the shared goals of how does that look like? How do we make that happen? And one of the most important elements of leadership that I don't think ever gets talked about enough is the leadership that has to happen at the lower levels of any organization for it to be a viable, important organization achieving important goals. And so we know in the Army, we say, yes, okay, we know we need generals, but we also need lieutenants and sergeants and colonels, and okay, that goes without saying. Same thing in our business. I guess we get into 2-for-1 special today. Same thing in our business. If we, we say, okay, yes, we know we need diamantes, but we also need platinums and double platinums, and before them we need golds and bronze and silver. Yes, that we know that goes. Oh, we went to the high level. Oh, thank you so much. See, this is leadership. Right? So don't forget, give me my key back. Need it on him at some point, so I don't forget when I go out. The other thing, yes, we need people at those levels, but there's this other aspect of leadership that has to take place, which is the actions taken by people in the group who don't have leadership titles. They don't have leadership positions, but they are involved in activities for the organization which allow the leadership of the leaders. In other words, let's say you've got a great leader at the top of an organization, and she really has created a powerful vision for the organization. She's attracted some aspiring leaders, and we've got some developing levels of leadership in that organization. There's still this really vital action, the glue that holds that organization together to move forward and advance, is the actions that those unheralded leaders, untitled leaders, that they take on a daily action, which are congruent with the vision of the group, congruent with the desired outcome of the group. And the way that happens more than anything, and I say that's the glue that holds any real organization together. And the way that happens is through culture. The culture that we create for the team. The culture we create for the organization. And so that's what I would like to talk about in this short time that I have with you this morning. I want to talk, because I want us to, yesterday we talked about some real practical application. What you need to do going out of here. Going Padawan Jedi and finding those 3 to 5 on the left, finding the 3 to 5 on the right, working down in depth, building 10 levels deep, rotating the pattern, teaching the basic skill set. That's what, that campaign. And I hope every one of you last night thought about what your campaign is for Alubra and what you're going to put together for that. And you have that vision, and you have that goal that you want to walk across that stage, and that pin that you want Alvaro and Sylvia to pin on your lapel. So, to make that happen the most effective way is determined by the culture that you create with the team. And that's a leadership function, so that's what I would like to talk about this morning. And then I'm going to turn it over to the guys, Jaime, Alberto, Daphne, the rest of the guys, and they're going to give you your assignments, what you should be doing as you walk out of here at 12:30 today, right? But for them, let's take a little time and talk about the leadership of culture and why it's so important. And the role of it is, the role of culture in an organization is so people know how to respond in every situation. In other words, when a situation arises and they've never encountered it before, and it's not in the training manual, they got to know, how am I supposed to respond to this? Because we cannot create a training manual big enough to cover every action that happens. So, for instance, I'm having dinner with Shai last night, and he says, hey, I've got this lady in Bolivia who's probably going to come into the business, and she used to be in my business with another company under a guy who lives in Paraguay. But Paraguay isn't open yet. And so she's going to come in now, and what if we open Paraguay 6 months from now, and this guy comes in, and she used to be under him? Well, how do you handle that? Where's the rule that covers that? Where's the policy that tells you it doesn't exist? Because there are infinite possibilities of that. So why we create culture is because culture is those shared values, those shared standards. So when you create a culture of integrity, when you create a culture of professionalism, when you create cultures around principles and ideals like that, then people understand how to act. So, for instance, we could have a big, beautiful product display up here this weekend, right? Which we need to have the next time we do this, by the way. You know that? We need a gorgeous mountain of products up here on the display table, just featuring the Fusion product line. And at break, there could be some new person who just joined the team the night before, and they see all this product and say, wow, I see they got HGH up there, and I've never tried that. I wonder if I could just, take a couple sachets out of that box. It's like samples. I'm sure nobody cares, right? But somebody's going to see that, right? Somebody's going to see and say, oh, wow, that person is taking products out of the display table. And that's not really congruent with the culture we have as our team. So let's see who their applying platinum is, and let's talk to that platinum or double platinum. Say, hey, just wanted to let you know you've got someone in your organization. I don't think could you talk to them, please, and let them know that in this organization, this is what this is about. And I've always felt really proud of this, that my team, I've always said, we could have 1,000 of us in a room, in a ballroom somewhere. We could go to the next ballroom because there was going to be a display or something. Every woman in the room could leave her purse there. Everybody could leave their smartphone or their laptop. And we didn't ever worry about it because the only people in that room were people on the team. And we had such a strong culture of integrity on the team that just that stuff, we didn't worry about somebody was going to steal a purse or money out of a purse, because that just doesn't happen on our team, because we don't have that kind of culture. And so what you see is when you set the culture, you not only attract the people who are congruent with that culture, but you actually push away the people who are not congruent with that culture. Like when I joined Fusion, this was a big deal that I joined, right? I mean, I had said the last thing I did, what I was working in, was going to be my last rodeo. I had no intention of ever leaving. I have a very big footprint in our space. I've got 10 best-selling books translated into 25 languages. I'm in the Speaker Hall of Fame, the Network Marketing Hall of Fame. You know, I've got a big presence. And so when I joined Fusion, that was a lot of big news for people in our space. And I was, you know, I got all kind of calls right away from the MLM junkies. Oh, hey, you're starting Fusion, you know, hey, I'd be willing to come over, and if you give me a spot at the organization, if you've got a cooked leg, and, you know, if you want to bring me in or give me a deal, I could bring over 200,000 people. And I was like, thanks, no thanks. The funny thing, if you listen to my training albums, which I've had for 20 years. For 20 years, I've always told this joke that if I had the choice of sponsoring an MLM, you know, player, a heavy hitter, or a lonely housewife in Iowa, I always say, give me the lonely housewife in Iowa, right? So, or I talk about duplication, and I say it starts off, you have 5, and then 25, and 125, and 625, and then it starts to go down the other way, and then you have 57, and 22, and 18, and one lonely housewife in Iowa. So now, one of my personal enrollees is Issa O'Hara, who is a divorced housewife in Iowa. And she keeps saying, I manifested this, that I manifested her, because that was the vision I held all those years, right? But I've always said, I want someone like Issa, because she's just coachable. She says, what should tell me what I need to do, and I will go out and do it. I just want to do this the right way. Whereas the junkies and the people who are looking for deals, they're always looking for a shortcut. And so in a 5-minute conversation with each and every one of them, we could determine that the culture of the team that I'm building is not congruent with what they want to do. So they don't come in. If you look at the Fusion comp plan, MLM junkies hate it. Because when they look at it at the start, they get really greedy. They get really excited. They're like, because they see 57% payout. They're hitting the cap. They got this profit sharing bonus that could be worth millions. You've got these one-time bonuses, literally of $1 million, $2 million. So they look at that and they say, oh, this is where I want to go. But then when they actually study the compensation plan, they realize you can't game that compensation plan. You know what I mean when I say game the plan, by the way, my interpreter? Yeah, okay. So, because it doesn't pay to get a cooked leg with Fusion, right? You have to have people on both sides. You have to have leaders. There's so many of the 15 ways you earn that get paid by developing leaders, which is the real behavior that we want to create. So just the structure of the compensation plan creates a certain culture. And that culture attracts the right people, and it repels the wrong people. And this is what we get to do with our teams, is we get, because we're still so early in the stages here, we can create this culture for Fusion Mexico. That for both all the teams, that all the lines that are working here, we can create this culture where we attract the people that buy into our shared values of this movement, and it repels those other people. So this is our chance. This is our first major event where we put all the lines together. We had Alvaro here. We launched a new product. So let's set the intention right now that we're going to create the culture, the perfect culture, the ideal culture for our team that we can begin this weekend. So I'm going to give you like 7 different areas that I think it's important to build culture, that I want you to be thinking about as from a leadership context. And I realize we have people in this room who are not even bronze yet. We have people that signed up Friday night at the 𝐊𝐂𝐄𝐑𝐻 𝐸𝐋ito and just joined and maybe haven't even sponsored the first one. But great, I'm glad you're here. Because, again, at this stage of hacking through the jungle, everybody who joins Fusion at this point in Mexico needs to have that leadership potential. So even if you just joined Friday night and you haven't even sponsored a single person yet, I'm going to encourage you to take this mantle of developing leadership and work on creating this culture with your organization. Because that's the perfect time to create the culture is when you haven't sponsored anybody yet. The perfect time to create a culture is when you got 3 people on your team. And you get together in a coffee shop and you say, hey, here's what we're going to stand for. Here's what we're going to do as a team. And it's a lot easier once you've got 10,000 people in an organization, 50,000 people in an organization. Very hard to change culture because now it's like turning a cruise ship out in the ocean instead of a speedboat, which you can just rake around the corner. So the first area I want to talk about is creating a culture of professionalism. Professionalism is how we conduct ourselves, and that we do it in the manner of a professional versus an amateur. What is the real difference between an amateur and a professional? Well, Arturo is a golfer, but he's an amateur golfer because he doesn't get paid for that, right? Jordan Spieth is a golfer. He's a professional golfer because he gets paid to do that. So the difference always in amateur and professional is professionals get paid. So that's where we should start the instruction of how do we delineate that. And then what does being a professional mean like in the context of what we're doing here with Fusion and the organization? And professional is how we start the meetings, how we finish the meetings, how we conduct the meetings, the places we conduct the meetings, the manner we recruit people, the claims that we make or we don't make, the support that we offer people or don't offer. Do we use professional materials or are we knocking off somebody's copyright and making, illegal copyright copies of books or DVDs or CDs? When you do that, it's unprofessional, things like that, right? If you start your meeting an hour late or 40 minutes late, that's unprofessional. If you finish your meeting and you say, okay, we're going to go from 7 to 10 p.m., and your meeting really finishes at 11:45. You say, well, your traffic was busy and people came late and it was a really good meeting and we had so much good content. No, because if you said it's going to 10 o'clock, there are people in the audience at 10 o'clock who have made arrangements. They have babysitters at home waiting for them to get there. They have a dog that needs to be walked. They have a call that they're supposed to make. They have something that they made decision based on the commitment you gave them, which said the meeting is going to take place from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So what does a professional do? A professional honors that commitment. So, what were the conversation that Jaime and I were having yesterday at 1:30? We were looking at the schedule and saying, okay, we're 30 minutes behind. Where do we pick up that 30 minutes? And we got to say, okay. So then you start looking at the presenters and say, hey, Daphne, you got a 60-minute presentation. Can you make yours in 50 minutes? And Shai, you got 45 minutes. Can you do 40 minutes? We can pick up 10 minutes here and 5 minutes there. And then, because we know, hey, we need to be done. Now, we started 30 minutes late yesterday morning. You know that. Because that was the first day of the first event. Because Friday night, we didn't do that. That was a company event. That's the monthly fusion thing. This joint event with the team started yesterday morning at 9 a.m. And we didn't get up on this stage till 9:30 because nobody was here at 9 a.m. As they said, well, it was 9 o'clock. It means they're probably going to start at 9:30, so I got time for another ganomas or whatever. And, there was some traffic. And so we gave some leeway day one. That was the last time ever. Every event we do forth from here, it's going to start on time. It's going to end on time. And you see. It's really easy to say, well, we run on Mexican time. You know what they say in Miami? Oh, we run on Miami time. We run on Cuban time. You know what they say in Russia? Well, we run on Russian time. No, that's not what professionals do. Professionals conduct themselves professional. So this is the standard we're going to set for our team. Whatever. So even when something comes up that we're not sure how to respond, the only question we have to ask is, okay, what would be the professional way to do that? Very tied into the second area where you create culture, which is a culture of integrity. This, you can make the argument this is the most important of any of the cultures you will ever set. This culture of integrity, where character matters, where your word matters, where you see, and we had a situation with Fusion in Peru. We had or it might have been Ecuador, I don't remember where he was from, but we had a leader who was taking people from other teams, and they were saying, hey, if you just, have your wife sign up under her maiden name and come in again, then we can move you over to this other line. And we had to terminate that person from the company because we say, that culture, it's not congruent with the kind of company that we want Fusion to be. We need to do the same thing as teams, right? We need to respect the sanctity of the sponsorship line. We need to respect it when other people are joining. And there's always going to be situations going to come up because you're going to have prospects that will talk to 5 different people about the business because they want to see, and they have every right in the world to do that because they're making a decision who their business partner is going to be. And so they will talk to, Shai and I are actually talking to the same lady right now. Right? In other words, she's a lady who we both know. She's contacted me. She's contacted him. Right? She didn't tell me she's talking to him. She didn't tell him she's talking to me. But she is. Because she's, checking out her options. And this happens all the time. So all you do is you say, okay, what's the way to conduct this with integrity? Like in a situation like that, the prospect always makes the decision. We don't get to say, no, you have to sponsor with this one. We have no right to do it. We have no legal right to do that. If we tried to do that, we would run into problems with the government. The prospect always has the right to do that. But we can compete with other lines and other companies, and we can do that with integrity. We don't have to, so in other words, the last company I worked with, we had a person in Scandinavia who was looking to join the business. So I was brought into the process at some point because somebody about 2 levels down from me was working with this prospect. Well, it turns out that they were working with, that prospect was talking to another person in another line. And again, it had gone up the ranks, and so they were doing like 3-way calls with the leader of that line and then 3-way calls with me. And so this person told my person, well, they said that your line is no good and your leadership is horrible and Randy Gage does this. And I'm like, wow. And he said, yeah, I'm good. So he said, just listen in. Here's the call that I taped. He had actually taped the call that he did with this other line. And this was a leader in my company. And he said the most horrible, nasty things about me and my team. I couldn't believe it. So I just did the grown-up thing, and I called him up, and I said, hey, I want to talk to you. You know, we got a situation coming up, and we have this prospect. You're talking to so-and-so on my team. You're talking to so-and-so on your team. And he just played me a phone conversation that you were on. Well, you said this, you said that. And he was like, I mean, he was apoplectic. How do you translate apoplectic? That's what I want to know. Someone said he said apoplectic in Espanol. Okay. And he didn't have integrity, right? But I let him know that I knew, and of course he wanted to maintain the facade of integrity. So of course he apologized profusely and said this would never happen again. And it really pretty much never did. He really felt, I think, that, don't mess around with it. That's not the way they do business. So maybe I better accommodate that because it's threatening to the way I do business. And what happened eventually? He took a deal and he went to another company. Because what happened is, I became the #1 income earner in that company. This guy used to be the #1 income earner there. And then eventually I became the #1 income earner. So my team started to set the culture for the company. Because that's what you do when you build a big enough team. You actually change the culture of the other team. You help mold the culture of the entire company. And then we had a shakeout where probably 4 or 5 top-ranked people just left. And they all took deals with different companies because the culture of that didn't fit them any longer. They weren't comfortable. So this culture of integrity, again, it's how we presented the business. We're not making crazy product claims. We're not making crazy income claims. We compete on a fair playing field. We present the best foot forward of our company and our product line and our team. But we don't need to tear down other companies to do that. We don't need to tear down other lines to do that. And one of the things, I used to, in my early years, I always was going after people from other companies. I was saying, well, they're in that company. Look at my company. My comp plan is so much better than them. And I don't do that. I haven't done that for 10 years because I just don't think it's integrity with that. It's like I get these emails all the time. They say, hey, Randy, I want to talk to you about my company. And I say, thanks, but I'm not sponsorable. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And they say, well, aren't you open-minded? Don't you at least want to look at what I have? I said, well, here would be the analogy to what you're proposing. Excuse me. The analogy would be, you see this pretty woman, and she's beautiful. And you say, wow, I really like that woman. I would like to know that woman more. But she's married. So you say, well, listen, I realize you're married, but don't you want to keep an open mind? Maybe you and I would just test drive a little. If you want to keep it. Or would you just say, well, there's really no integrity of that. If this man and woman have the sanctity of a marriage, maybe if I'm looking for a girlfriend or a fiance, I should look at another woman who isn't married. That's the kind of conclusion that I've come to with people in other businesses. Now, from time to time, there's going to be people who realize, wow, the company that I'm with is not going to take me to where I want to be. Right? This is why he's here, I'm here, Daphne's here, Shai is here, Alberto is here. We were with a company and we came to realize, wow, they had a new owner come in, buy the company, and we realized, wow, we don't have shared values anymore. The culture isn't congruent anymore. We need to go look somewhere else. And we did, and that's why we're here with Fusion today. That's the natural process of evolution, and you're going to have people who come to you because they've realized, hey, this other company was the first one I joined. I was excited about the business. I didn't understand how comp plans work. I didn't know what kind of product lines work best in the business. I didn't know the importance of having a leadership team and a system and training and infrastructure. And I realized I can't live my dreams with this company I'm at. So I want to talk to you guys. Great. Anybody who approaches me that way or anybody who approaches you that way, that's fair, integrity, competition, and we're just going to, and we don't need to tear down the other one. We just say, oh yeah, here's what we got with Fusion. Got real products for real people at real prices. Got a very lucrative compensation plan, very balanced, pays you 15 different ways. It rewards you for taking the correct behavior. Got a great leadership team with the company, very visionary founder, doing great work. We've got a foundation, we give back. We've got strong teams, we have systems in place. You just make the case. Here's what we got. If that sounds right for you, if our culture is congruent with you, we'd love to have you on the team. But the people who come in and say, well, I think you should change your culture because, then we say, you're probably not right for us. Maybe you should talk to somebody else. Third area, we're really good on this in this room, is the area of product culture, customer culture. Very strong here in these lines here, this country here, this company. We do a really good job of this, so I'm not going to talk any more about that. The fourth area is we've got to create a culture of rank advancement. This is a culture. This is a culture you set. And you set it by the way you bring people into the business. So, as I mentioned, I think yesterday, one of the things we're doing is we're looking at this EF qualified within 24 hours. Because even though that isn't a rank in the compensation plan, it's a rank advancement, right? It's a very important first step. We got to be EF activated. We got to be EF qualified. We've got somebody on, because we need somebody right away. We need somebody on both sides of the structure. Because what does that do? That creates the culture of building balance. That, okay, there's two sides of the organization. We have a left leg and a right leg, and we need to be building both of those. Try to keep them as equal as possible, right? And then we create this culture of, hey, let's get you to executive. We got matching bonuses here. Let's get you to senior executive. We got matching bonuses here. I want you to qualify for this because this gives you some money right away that you can invest right back in your business, buy some more inventory, and grow the business quicker. So we've got these matching bonuses early on. We want to get you qualified for those as quickly as possible. And then all of the ranks from oro to platinum and double platinum and diamond, you create a culture where people focus on their next rank advancement. And the way you do that is you talk about that. You recognize that. You reward that. We have a very lucrative compensation plan, right? There's some really big one-time bonuses when you start to move up that ladder. But we need to do that as a team also. Like, we have a leadership webcast we do every Tuesday on X-Tribe. We do a Spanish version, we do an English version. And first thing we do every Tuesday is we talk about any of the major rank advancements that happen that week. We want to recognize those new people who made that, because we show the team that this is important to us, that we recognize, and we understand that recognition drives people more than the money, more than the free cars, more than the free trips. It's the nature of human nature that people respond to being recognized. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing egotistical about that. This is a very prosperous thing, that people's desire to do good work and be recognized for accomplishing good work is a very prosperous thing. And we need to do a good job of recognizing that every time somebody has rank advancement and build that culture. We're kind of, one of the things we're tying into our team is this whole take your life back thing, and we want to create a culture where our people get debt free. So we're not talking about making $50,000 a month. We're saying, hey, get your credit cards paid off. Hey, let's get your car paid off, and then let Fusion buy you a car. Let's get your mortgage paid off, and then let Fusion pay your mortgage. And I can tell you that one of the things I will work for really strong on my team is that we will celebrate this. When somebody becomes debt-free, we're going to make a big deal out of it. When someone pays off their car and they don't have a car loan, and now Fusion pays them $350 a month or $600 a month for a car, we're going to make a big deal about that. When someone has that last payment of their mortgage, that when they send that in, that last check, and then they own their house, we're going to have a mortgage burning party. And we're going to get the team together, and we're going to take their mortgage papers, and we're going to go out on the lawn, and we're going to set them on fire, and we're all going to scream and cheer, and post a video of it, and put it on Facebook, and we're going to celebrate that, because that's freedom. That is freedom, because this is what we're working to help people do, so that they have the freedom to choose where their children can go to school, with the neighborhood they raise their children, how they spend time with their loved ones, the kind of charities and organizations that they can support, and the free time that they have to do that. That comes from getting the money thing out of the way. How do we get the money thing out of the way? We simply advance up the Fusion compensation plan, because this is a really rewarding compensation plan. And whatever someone's dream is, they can do it. If someone wants to get their products paid for, they can do that. They want to get their product paid for and make a couple thousand pesos a month extra, they can do that. They want to get their car paid off, their home paid off, they can do that. Even if they want to become a millionaire, they can do that. This plan has the capability of doing that, right? So what is our job or our function as a leader? We create this culture of rank advancement. So this is why I say that Monday night, probably your most important night of the week is going to be Monday night. After you do any of your home meetings, any of your one-on-ones, or your two-on-ones, or your three-way calls, you get all of that done Monday evening, because Monday evening is a good night to get that done. But then, when it's 8:30, 9:30, 10:30 at night, that's when you sit down, you get in your back office, and you go to the greatest network marketing tool ever developed since the earth crust cooled, and you start checking your people and seeing, okay, what's their next rank? And then you say, hey, Daphne, I just saw you're 88% toward bronze or 88% towards gold this week. And then, Lord, what can I do to help you get there this week? Because I would love to be able to announce your name as a gold executive next week on the leadership webcast and on the website. And of course, we want her to walk across the stage and get her pin at the next major event and all of those kind of things. That's a culture you create. When you show, that's what's important. In other words, what people look for to advance in a leadership team, they look for, well, what do the current leaders value? And what is the pathway that I would need to take to become a leader with this organization? So if they say, well, leaders are on the platform, they're on the podium, conducting training and doing events. So what does it take for me to get on that podium? That's what they're thinking. If they aspire to be a leader, they say, okay, what do I see leaders doing? And then what is the pathway that allows me to get there? And we need to show very clearly that rank advancement is a big element of that. Same thing, let's go back to this issue of integrity. Here's something I've seen a lot in our business. Somebody wanted to become a rank with a company. Let's say it's Diamond. So they did everything they could to qualify for Diamond Director. And they were finally, let's say the equivalent of $3,000 away from Diamond Director in volume in a certain leg or something. And so they told the team, everybody do me a favor. I need everybody to buy 2 extra boxes of, whatever the product this month. Because if everybody will buy 2 extra boxes, then Tony and Maria will qualify as Diamond Director. And we can do this as a team. So what happens? So they do this push to qualify for Diamond. And they make it. Everybody buys 2 extra boxes of whatever the product is, and Tony and Maria become a Diamond Director in March. And then what happens in April? Well, in April, their volume craters because most of their people bought 2 extra boxes of inventory in the month before, so they order less that month. So they qualified for Diamond that month. They're going to get the pin. The name's going to be in the newsletter, but then they don't qualify in April or May or June or July. But they still have the pin, and so we still put them on the stage. And then let's say when you get to Diamond Director, you get $1,000 a month for a car bonus, right? So they're up there and they're doing an opportunity meeting and they got their PowerPoint slide and they say, yes, and when you're a Diamond Director like me, you get $1,000 a month and you can get a car like this Lamborghini you see up here on this slide. But the people in their team who are sitting in the audience are saying, but I know he doesn't qualify at Diamond. I know he made it that one time, but I know he doesn't. Because if there's people in the sponsorship line that see their organization, they know, right? So there's people above them that are saying, he's talking about that $1,000 car bonus, but he doesn't even qualify for it. So now they got a little itchy feeling, it just doesn't, right? I see that so much in this profession. So one of the things I can tell you as our team, that'll never happen. And here's a great thing, here's another reason why the MLM junkies hate the Fusion compensation plan. Because you can't buy your way in one time to get a rank. Just to become platinum, you got to qualify a couple of weeks in a row. Double platinum, a couple of weeks in a row. Diamond is even more. The other one's even more. So you really can't just game it one way in, 1 week, get a rank, and then because the plan is built to not allow that to happen. All right, so where are we at? Number 5, we're going to create a culture of innovation. Because the business has changed very dramatically it's simply shocking how many companies haven't kept up with it, how many leaders haven't kept up with it. I could go around Mexico City on Tuesday night. If I stayed in town, I stayed on Tuesday night, I could go around to a bunch of network marketing presentations, and I could just go from hotel to hotel to hotel. And it would be so funny to me because if I watched them, because I do that, I travel all the time. First thing I do when I check in a hotel, I get my key, and I go to the elevator, and then I always go and look at the event board, and I see who's doing any events in the hotel, because I want to know if there's an Herbalife meeting, or there's a Mary Kay meeting, or there's a whatever. I want to sneak in that meeting if possible. Just be in the back room. I just like to see what people are doing. They're my peers, people in my business, and I can learn. Maybe there's a Rodan and Fields meeting, which is kind of cosmetic and skincare, and they're more of a party plan, direct selling than I am. But it might be something I can learn from. But if we did that, we would go into meeting after meeting after meeting, and we would see the same story. The same story they were telling in 1970. Right? They will have a graph up here, and they will say, here's the difference between network marketing. In their traditional business, you have a manufacturer, and they make a product, and they send it to a rack jobber. And the rack jobber sends it to a wholesaler, and the wholesaler sends it to a warehouse, and then the warehouse sends it to the retail store. And then the customer finally comes in the store, and they buy the product. And it's so expensive because you have all these parasites in the middle. Whereas with network marketing, we have a company that manufactures the product, and they send it direct to the team member, who is often the consumer or the conversation market. And we cut out all of these people in the middle, and this is why you go into a supermarket and a box of cereal costs 500 pesos, and really the cost of that cereal is only 50 pesos. But it's all those distribution models. Well, that was true in 1976. That's not true in 2016. I mean, have you ever heard of Amazon.com? Zappos, Dell Computer, Apple Computer? Can we not get on the internet and buy our iPhone right from Apple? Buy our computer right from Apple? Can we not go to DellComputer.com and design a complete custom computer, exactly what we want, and have it delivered direct to us? With no rack jobber, wholesaler, warehouser, retail, none of that. So the model has changed. But I'm simply shocked at how many people are still doing the business from 30 years ago, because they're not critical thinkers. So again, let me give you an example. Actually, I'm not going to have time for this. Because I want to make sure I get through all this. The point of this is this. The entire world is going to smartphones. The entire world is going to messaging apps. The world is going to video. I mean, books. If somebody's under 30 years old, they've never seen a book, right? Unless they've been in a museum, like him, right? Alberto's son, he's never seen a book, right? Unless Daphne and Alberto took him to, he doesn't even know what that is. Like, he's laughing right now, but as soon as I turn, he's going to turn to his girlfriend and say, what's a book? We like to make these brochures and catalogs and manuals and things. The world is changing. Now, we have this process for bringing people in. So we say, hey, you need to do a list of at least 200 people. But everybody has a list already in their smartphone. Their contact list is already in their smartphone. They don't need to do a list. We just need a mobile app that shows them, hey, welcome to Fusion. Would you like to contact everybody in your contact list and invite them to check out a peak interest video? Hey,
hey, would you like to send a message to all your Facebook friends and let them know what you're doing right now and see if they want to check this out? Would you like to have a personalized website that has your name, your phone, your email, but has all of the process and the system that we have for Fusion to bring a prospect through that? That's what we got to do, and that's what we're committed to, a culture of innovation. And we're at this beautiful time in human history where everything is changing. There's going to be 5 billion smartphones on the planet in the next year or two. Do you realize homeless people have smartphones? Do you understand that? Do you understand how important that is? Homeless people have smartphones. And I'm not saying that to be snarky or mean or what. I'm saying this as a social scientist. The fact that homeless people have smartphones tells you how pervasive and what a cataclysmic acceleration curve of adoption that smartphones have become in the world today. And even in third world and very weak developing economies, the explosion of broadband, the internet, smartphones, this is happening at such an accelerated rate. The world has changed. And I was interviewed by Entrepreneur Magazine last week, and that was one of the things I told them of all of the most cataclysmic things that are happening in the next decade. The biggest one is going to be the smartphone and how mobile changes everything. Because mobile will change how we buy, how we sell, how we teach, how we learn, how we meet people, how we communicate, how we do everything. So it just makes sense if we're going to look at network. I can tell you, we were having dinner last night. Jaime, Shai, Alberto, Daphne, myself. And you know what we were talking about? We were talking about, well, will there come a time where we no longer do home meetings? Will there come a time where we no longer do hotel meetings? How soon before we should start testing Periscope broadcasts of our opportunity presentations? Like right now we do Google Hangouts. That's what we do our leadership webcast on. About 3 weeks ago, we did an opportunity meeting on Google Hangout. Just testing that because Google lets you put up slides. And we're going to do more of those. We're going to do Periscope. So we're looking at the thing. Well, maybe the point will come where we say, hey, on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to live stream the Fusion Opportunity presentation. And we're going to say, we still want you to have a house meeting, but we want you to get your 7 friends together in the house and sit down in front of your TV and plug in your Apple TV and watch the Periscope broadcast of the opportunity presentation. Or the Google Hangout or the Meerkat or whatever the technology we decide to go with. But that's a very real possibility that we'll be doing really soon. Because one of the things we're committed to is a culture of innovation. We're starting this thing from scratch, and our attitude as a team is we have this white canvas, and we can make any painting we want. We don't have any rules. We can do this exactly the way that would be the best way to do it in the reality of today's marketplace. Where are we at? Number 6. A culture of social consciousness. And this, you're going to see a big part of this is going to be the Fusion Foundation. And we didn't have time to do it this time. But I promise you, when we come back in September, we will have some element of this event which will support the Fusion Foundation and do work helping whether it's indigenous people or kids in undeveloped world or whatever it is. Even the littlest things. Who's the lady who yesterday went up to the poster and put the little garbage bag there and put the sign and said, put your sticks in here for recycling? Will you stand up, please? I just love that. I was so excited when because I couldn't read. My eyesight isn't good enough when you put up the sign, so I had to go over later and read it and say, wow, what a great thing. Can we just decide that will happen at every Fusion meeting we ever do for the rest of our lives? Are we all in agreement with that? Last area I want to talk about culture is, and by the way, before I leave this social consciousness, I just think, because, why am I doing this? I don't need the money. Right? I didn't need to, when I decided to leave this thing that I left, I didn't need to go back into network marketing, because I've been smart with my money. I'm one of those people who burned his mortgage. I'm debt free. I bought another car last week. I pay cash for that, right? Every car, I just pay cash for that. I don't mess around. I don't want to have debt. I bought a penthouse in Miami. I'm remodeling that. I'm going to set the Guinness Book of World Records for the most expensive remodeling job in the history of the world. It's like every week I get another email from my contractor. I mean, I'm putting a wood floor. You say, well, how much would a wood floor be? I have the most expensive wood floor in the history of the world. Right? To give you an idea, I paid $12,000 for the wood floor to install it. To install it. How can you... There was a time in my life when I would have bought a whole house for $12,000. Right? And that would have been a good house for me. Now, I spent because I got Siberian white oak for this floor. And it literally comes from Siberia. Novosibirsk, the forest in Russia. They have these huge white oak, which is this beautiful wood. And I have to get it shipped from Russia to New York, and then drives from New York to Miami. And the guy who does it is such a craftsman. It costs $12,000 just to put in the floor. And I'm not even going to tell you what the floor costs, okay? Because your head would explode. Right? But the exciting thing for me is I'm just paying cash for all that stuff. You know what I mean? I've got all this, and I'm just room by room and project by project. And when it's done, it will be like my San Diego place. I love it. It's a beautiful, but it was a smaller place. I bought it when I was on sabbatical. I just needed something in the States. But now this Miami place, I mean, I'm really doing what it is I want to do. But that's the freedom I have to make those choices for being smart about money. So the point is, I don't need the money, right? I didn't need to get a bonus check. So why did I get back in Fusion and why I'm doing this? Because you get to a point in your life where you look for meaning. You look for contribution. There comes a point where you want to move from success to significance. You want to know that what you do makes a difference. And that's what we're going to do with Fusion. We're going to make a difference. And we are making a difference. This movement has already started. There's people whose lives have been so impacted just from the health benefits that they've experienced because they're drinking healthy versions of coffee, tea, juices, smoothie, energy drinks, athletic drinks. They're getting healthy stuff now. And it shows, and their weight is better, their health is better, their energy is better, their life expectancy is better. They can play with their children or their grandchildren now. That means something. And in a country like Mexico, which is a very difficult economy right now, there's a lot of people really struggling right now. For them to come into Fusion and just make a few thousand pesos a month can make a huge, huge difference in their standard of living. And we get the chance to do that. And we have a lot of markets all across the world where we can make that difference. And that's so this social consciousness thing, and not only just what we can do with the product movement, what we can do with the income opportunity, and what we can do with the foundation. And I'm going to take it even one step further and say it's what we do for the team members, the people who build their self-esteem, who get on the self-development program, the book of the month, listening to audios, watching videos, working on themselves, developing more confidence, setting an example for their children. We have mothers, single mothers who are on welfare assistance from the government who can get in our business and find their way to financial security and get off charity. And this is the kind of thing we can do. This is the really powerful thing. So that social consciousness is something we're going to really create that culture. And the final one I want to talk about is the event culture. Because the event culture is what allows us to do all of the good things that we like to do. Because the event culture is how we build the team. Remember, the way we grow the group is we grow the events. And how do we grow the events? We build event to event to event. So if I'm in Mexico right now, you know what I'm telling my team? I'm telling them this Alumbra event in Medellin, Colombia is going to be the single most important event in the history of fusion. You have got to be there. You have to get every single person on your team there because this will be a career-transforming, life-altering event. The single most important event in the history of fusion. And at the very end of that event, and the fireworks go off, and the confetti cannons spray, and all the confetti comes down, and I'll be meeting with my team the next day, and you know what I'll be telling the people in Mexico? This event in September is the single most important event in the history of fusion. This will be the most important, career-altering, life-transforming event. This is an event that can take 5 years off your learning curve. You will have the top income earners of the company sharing with you exactly how they did it. And I will be just building to that event. For 3 months, that will be the campaign. How many people can we get in September? And at 12 noon on Sunday of that September event, you know what I'll be talking about? I'll be talking about the February event, which will be the single most important event in the history of fusion. And that's what you do as a leader. You say, what is my, okay, if I want to be like Esteban, I want to be a diamond, I want to be successful, what is that going to look like? You know what that's going to look like? That's going to look like building to 3 to 4 major events every year for the next 20 years. And all his whole game plan, all he has to plan for the next 20 years is what his campaign is for the next event. Because if he does that campaign right to the next event, he's going to get more people there. And the more people he gets there, the bigger the number of people who get over the line. And at some point, you get your business to the point where you have enough people over the line that your business is locked in. And you never have to worry about that business ever going away. It will continue to grow forever. And my experience of this is there's a tipping point here. And the tipping point is when you can get 100 distributorships attending a major event. So that's 100 distributors. So husband and wife only counts one because that's one distributorship. And it has to be a major event. I'm not talking about just a night of success. I'm talking about a weekend major event like this, or like Alumbra, where we have in May in the U.S. we're going to do our launch. That'll be a major event, right? Then we'll do another one in the fall. Our goal, what I'm telling my top team is, okay, how soon can you get to the point where you have 100 distributorships at one of those? Because if you get 100 distributorships, there's enough leaders and developing leaders that will continue to grow that organization forever. Even if you left. That's the crazy thing, is what I'm saying is, if Julio gets to the point where he has 100 people at 100 distributorships at Alumbra, and then 2 weeks after Alumbra, he quit and he went to some juice company. What's a juice company here? Who's here? Or Jeunesse. Let's say he went to Jeunesse. So 2 weeks after Alumbra, he quits and he goes to Jeunesse because he wants to look like that lady in the video. That organization, we could come back 5 years later, and Julio's organization would still be growing, even though he left, because he had and even if he took 15 people with him, right? He took 15 leaders with him, and they got a deal, and they went over there. The 85 people who were left, who were over the line, they're going to keep building event to event to event to event, and we would come back 5 years later, and that organization would be bigger, stronger, vibrant, healthier than it ever was. So I want you to, what you should be focusing on is, what is your campaign for Alumbra? What is your rank goal? And everything we talked about there. And then, of course, where are we going to do from Alumbra is we're going to build from Alumbra to the September event here. Now, what I want to do right now, because we have the ability to do this, because this is the team event, is the tickets for the September event. I want you guys to get your tickets now for that event. So everybody who's got a smartphone or a laptop, take it out. Where do they need to go to buy their tickets? And do we have a 5-ticket special? You're going to tell us? Oh, look at this. Is this professional or what? So, do we have a 5-ticket special or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it?
The event date.
El día del evento, el boleto va a costar 800 pesos, ¿ok? Antes de eso, obviamente va a costar menos. Eso es para evitar que de pronto lleguemos muchos más de los que esperábamos el mismo día del evento, como nos pasó ayer, claro. Antes de eso va a costar menos, pero nunca va a costar lo que va a costar en las próximas 24 horas. En las próximas 24 horas, si compras un solo boleto, va a costar 500 pesos. Y si compras 5 va a costar, vas a pagar 4 nada más, es decir, el quinto es tuyo y los otros 4 son para dárselos a 4 personas que entren en tu equipo de aquí al evento. Entonces, todo aquel que sepa que va a inscribir por lo menos 4 personas en los próximos 6 meses, debería llevarse ese paquete para ya tener boleto para darle en el momento a un precio súper preferencial.
So, in a couple of minutes, we're going to be heading to break. What you need to be thinking about in break is, okay, who do you need to connect with in your team and check? Because what I'm going to suggest is get that 5 tickets. And yeah, by the way, you see, I've already booked this. I will be here. Alvaro has already agreed to be here. We will have the whole leadership team. We will have an amazing event. This is locked off in our calendars. You see, the 3rd and 4th of September, we're going to have an amazing event. And I tell you, this is a great event this weekend, but what we're going to do in September, we're going to blow we can't even do it in this hotel because they don't have a big enough room for the number of people we're going to have in September. But get that, if you're serious about this, what I'm going to suggest is get that pack of 5 tickets. With the idea that everybody you enroll this week, you're already selling them their ticket to the September event. You know what I mean? You just want to be, and then I want you to, at the break, look for your team members here and see, did they get their tickets for the September event? Because the more people you have at that event, the faster your organization is going to grow. And remember, the ultimate thing you're looking for is, what is the event that you will be able to have 100 distributorships at that major event? Because there's people in this room that will have it for Alumbra, right? They'll have 100 distributorships at Alumbra, and that will be the tipping point for their business. And then there's people that you're not going to be able to make it for Alumbra, but you could probably make it for this event. And then there's going to be some of you who are not going to make it for this event, but you could have 22 at Alumbra, and you could have 64 at Accelera, and then you could have 100 at February or March or whatever the next major event is in Mexico. So I want you to be thinking strategically as a leader like that, with that in mind, that, hey, what am I doing going on here? I need Padawan Jedi, 3 to 5 on the left, 3 to 5 on the right. Build depth, drive depth, find other people who want to be Padawan, build 10 levels deep, sell tickets to the next event. Need to get to the point where I have 100 distributorships at a major event, and then I know my business is on its way forever. So, last thoughts, my vision for you. I love Mexico. I love the vitality of the Mexican people. I love the leadership team we have here in Mexico. And I am so excited about the potential here. We're working in 12 countries. I've got people in all 12 countries. I'm going to do well in a number of those countries in terms of my team and my growth. But if you ask me, what are the 2 markets that I think have the most potential? It's USA and Mexico. And what's the total population of Mexico? 129 million. Okay, so 120 million for Mexico, 360 million for the United States. So the United States is 3 times more people than Mexico. But I think it's very possible that Mexico will be bigger than the United States. I just do. I look at the price of the products, the type of the product line, the culture of the people here. People love to retail here. They love to personally deliver products and have customers. People in the United States, they have an aversion. A lot of people have an aversion to that. That's a cultural thing for them. They want to work everything online, you know what I mean? So I really believe it's possible that the 120 million people in Mexico are going to produce more volume, help more people. Because that's what we're about. We're about helping people, getting them on the products and building their finances and getting out of debt. And I also think the people in Mexico need it more than the people in the United States. And that makes a difference too. Because if you're hungry, if you need to make money, you're more active than somebody who's like doesn't really need it. They're okay. It's like the old story of the dog who's laying on the nail, and they say, well, it doesn't hurt so much that he gets off it, you know. It's that thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we could say that for Mexico City, health-wise. We remember, we got 23 million people who need 2 vitamins every day, and they need a vita because they need the antioxidants and all that. I mean, you know, we need to help a lot of people here. So I have this vision for Mexico. I think this will be one of the greatest teams in fusion history. I think we will set records that have never been set in any other country. I think when you see Alumbra 2 years from now, 3 years from now, there will be so many Mexican flags. There will be so many Mexican leaders walking across the stage, and we will make a difference. And it started with the people in this room.